Dear Diary, I'm looking for the perfect commander. One who's tall, dark, and handsome with an undeniably evil side. But one who's built like a man-shark pirate, who doesn't mind discarding cards to get ahead in life. And he's got to have the personality of a ninja warrior, cunning and sneaky with tricks up his sleeve. Am I ever going to be able to find my dream commander? Will my missed opportunity ever come to pass again? I don't have to dream wistfully any longer, as Sauron the Dark Lord is finally getting a reprint in the upcoming The Hobbit set. And what better dreamboat commander than a man that would turn himself into a giant flaming eyeball just to find some lost jewelry? This brooding tyrant may already have a fangirl army, but I'm going to be the one to stand out. He may be the most popular Grixis commander ever, but I'm going to do something different with him. I promise you I can change him. I'm going to do my best to put a ring on it and brew a deck for this misunderstood bad boy that no one has ever thought of before. Yes, believe it or not, Sauron is the most popular played Grixis legend, and if you missed him the first time around, you've got a chance at him again. The Hobbit means reprints of some of the biggest and best cards from the Lord of the Rings, including our Dark Lord, Sauron himself. But way back when he was revealed the first time, I saw potential in him that no one else has seen, and it's only gotten better since. See, Sauron is packed with abilities like making armies and drawing us cards, and I just really want to focus on how these abilities work to really get just stupid broken with them. The amass mechanic isn't really breakable on its own. You can only create one army, and that army gets bigger and bigger every time you amass. You're forced to put a counter on an army you control and only make a new army if you don't control one. Which makes these other abilities of being tempted by the ring and wheeling when you get tempted inherently locked to your one army dealing combat damage. But what if you had multiple armies? Better yet, what if everything you controlled was an army? Army is a creature type, not a specific token type. And this is where my first inspiration for the deck comes into play. Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow. Yuriko decks like to turn all of their creatures into ninjas to get Yuriko's trigger over and over again. So why don't we do the same thing with Sauron and armies? Leyline of Transformation, Arcane Adaptation, Masquid Nexus. Turning everything we control into armies means dealing combat damage with any creature, tempts us and lets us wheel, discarding our hands and drawing 4 cards. And that's where the deck's second inspiration comes from, Captain Howler Sea Scourge. The captain loves when we discard cards, pumping creatures and letting us draw more cards. A Captain Howler deck is packed with creatures like Magmakin Artillerist, Glinthorn Buccaneer, and Brawlin Skyshark Rider that deal damage when we discard cards. If we combine these two concepts, making everything an army and killing our opponents when we discard cards, we can turn Sauron into a combo engine and ideally end the game the turn he comes into play. Yeah, Sauron's that good. But no one is building him this way. I see more Reanimator decks, more Zombies decks, more Counters decks than I see anything that's really trying to focus on the wheel aspect of this commander. So let's look at how the deck plays, then dive into infinite combos, card selections, and upgrades. First and foremost, our commander is not a cheap 6 mana, meaning we really don't want to have to recast him. We want him to hit the table and us to win the turn he enters play. So that means everything we set up needs to be done before Sauron hits the battlefield. Which is why the deck runs very low to the ground in a way a Yuriko deck can't. Yuriko needs to mix the little unblockable dorks with big mana payoff spells. We don't need the big mana payoff spells when we win via combo and synergy. So ideally, turns 1 to 3, we're dropping little unblockable guys and maybe some synergy stuff to propel us ahead. And we either find or tutor up a way to make all of our creatures into armies. Then, as long as we have at least one way to capitalize off of discarding cards, we just need Sauron to stick on the board and attack. Our unblockable guys dealing combat damage lets us discard our hand and draw 4 multiple times, letting us deal damage for each discard. This can turn into 12 to 15 damage to each opponent on top of combat damage. The more things we have that care about us discarding, the more damage this ends up doing to our opponents. The version that I've put together today is what I'm calling a Bracket 3 version. It's got some game changers like Tutors and Jessica's Will, but I'm fairly certain this could make the jump to bracket 4 fairly easily. The only limiting factor, in my opinion, is a 6-mana commander. But with rituals, he can come down as early as turn 4 and be enough to start chunking life totals. However, your most explosive games with this deck rely on Soul Ring and having a Leyline of Transformation in your opening hand, and consistent that is not. But the other reason this could be considered a bracket 4 list is because I've put an infinite combo in that doesn't even need Sauron in play that can pop off as early as turn 4. If you're in a deck in blue and red and are looking to discard cards, there's an infinite combo with multiple redundancies that ends the game fast. Any creature that damages each opponent when a card is discarded, like Glinthorn Buccaneer, Magmakin Artillerist, or Brawlin Skyshark Rider, coupled with anything that draws a card when you damage an opponent like Curiosity, Ophidian Eye, or Tandem Lookout, creates an infinite loop as long as you move to your discard with more than 7 cards in hand. But how? Well, this is where we're abusing the cleanup step. Normally, you can't do anything in the cleanup step unless something triggers, and when you discard down to 7 cards, that discard triggers the damage from one of these creatures. And since the draw engines mentioned don't specifically say combat damage, they trigger again, resulting in you drawing back up. But since we're in our discard phase, we need to discard back down to 7 cards. We can't leave the discard phase with more than 7 cards in hand. So we discard back down, which deals damage again, which we draw back up forever. Or at least until our opponents are dead or we run out of cards in our library. Since this is a 2-card combo that doesn't require our commander and can happen as early as turn 4 with no ramp, well, that's why I can see this being able to be a bracket 4 deck with very little effort. There's your 2 lines to victory in this deck. Rely on effects like Cool But Rude and wheeling, 10 times a turn, or suit up a Glinthorn Buccaneer with a Curiosity and only have to discard a single card to watch the world burn. Path 1 means you need lots of little evasive dudes like Tormented Soul, Slither Blade, or Ginger Brute, meaning you'll always have something early game to work with and keeps the curve pretty low to the ground. All told, there are 11 1-drops in the deck that help enable the next step, turning them all into armies. There are a few options here, and I've included a couple of tutors in the deck to ensure that we can get these pieces of the puzzle. There's the least redundancy for it, but there is at least redundancy for it. Then it's just a matter of sticking Sauron in play and attacking. Once you start discarding at least 4 cards per wheel, that's 4+ damage to each opponent per wheel. It makes the game go really quick from there. Notice that the ring mechanic isn't even a focus here. For rules purposes, we need to trigger that the ring is tempting us multiple times. That's what gets us to wheel. But who the ring bearer is and how many times we've been tempted really doesn't play into the deck's effectiveness at all. That's basically flavor text in the grand scheme of things. Including all 3 incarnations, Anger, Wonder, and Filth, all play into your ability to get in and connect on attack, even if you aren't attacking with your little evasive dorks. And you better believe Urborg is in the deck to pair with Filth. Nothing like all of your creatures being unblockable forever to win a game fast. Your other line is the cutthroat, the game needs to end now combo line. Suit up a Magmakin Artillerist with an Ophidian Eye, and the moment you discard a single card, you're heading into game over hours. 8 cards in hand, move to the end step and your opponents get wiped out. The guts of the deck all help with this. Either help us power out our commander, or help us discard cards to trigger our infinite loops. Effects like Monument to Endurance help us get a little bit more value out of our wheels. Cards like Full Throttle mean if we don't win in a single attack, we can get a few more spins of the wheel. Roaming Throne doubles up on all of it, especially if we name Army and have made everything an army. That gets pretty silly pretty fast. And I know you all hate discarding cards and losing access to them, which is why so many Sauron decks are Reanimator lists. But I have included Containment Construct and Library of Lang, so you do get to pick and choose what you're actually losing. Handy to make sure you aren't ditching any combo pieces when you get spinning through your deck. With additional effects like Bident of Thassa in the 99, drawing us a card when our little unblockable fellas connect, we dig to get our own combo pieces. The whole deck makes for a cohesive package that points to us drawing and discarding our entire deck to take the table out, ideally all at once. And hey, if things get a little hairy, we could also win by drawing those cards with a Psychosis Crawler. Man, Psychosis Crawler wins in Commander? What is this, 2014? If we do want to push the deck to bracket 4 though, let's take a look at the upgrade. And if we're looking at taking the deck to a higher bracket level and pushing the power, I'd likely add Ancient Tomb to either help get Sauron out a turn faster or to accelerate our combo timeline by at least a single turn. Otherwise, the One Ring is a flavor win to add in, at least if you're sticking with the theme of Sauron loving jewelry. It's a shame I can't put a wedding ring on him. If you're looking to accelerate the clock a bit more, then Dark Ritual isn't a terrible idea, and Desperate Ritual is right there to get you a turn ahead in mana generation. These are short-term win solutions though, and I've focused on more long-term effects, putting the deck in a mid-range combo position over a turbo combo position. Your mileage may vary though. And while I've got a few discard effects in the deck already, I did leave out Faithless Looting, just barely, as a cheaper way to kickstart your discard loops for the combo if you got no other way to do it. Ghostly Pilferer can be a straight swap for Baleful Strix in the list, another free discard outlet to kickstart your combo lines. But overall, the deck is a very tight and nicely streamlined take on this commander that I don't see anybody else embracing. I want to know what you think about this option for Sauron, how cute you think he is, and how you're planning to build him now that you've got another chance to pick him up in the Hobbit set. If you've made it this far, be sure to subscribe to the channel and don't leave without checking out my sponsors like Card Conduit. They are hands down the easiest way to sell your individual Magic cards without the hassle of traditional buy listing. They'll get you top dollar while handling all of the heavy lifting, from sorting to grading to optimizing your price across a huge network of vendors. And they'll give you cold hard cash for it. You can use the promo code MECHANIC right now for 10% off of all fees. And if you want to pick up the cards for this list, make sure to go check out Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC right now for 5% off your order from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only one shipping fee. Save money and time today. Lastly, you can check out all of my decks on MOXFIELD. MOXFIELD is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to build decks and search for specific cards with their powerful tools. Have you checked out their drag and drop feature yet? It's revolutionary. Be sure to check out my brews and follow my profile there right now. If you were inspired to brew today, you have to hit that subscribe button. Check out this other deck on my channel right now for more sweet tech. And as always, folks, good luck and have fun.